Please be seated. Order. Order. The Secretary will read the order of the day.
Reply by the President to the debate on the State of the Nation address.
The Honorable the President.
Thank you. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable Deputy President Ubao Khalima Muntlanti, Honorable Ministers and Deputy Ministers, Honorable Members of this House, izindwendwe zethu ezikunye nathi namhla kule ndlu yesishayamathetho, fellow South Africans, thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to respond to the debate on the 2014 State of the Nation Address. Allow me, Honorable Speaker, to extend a warm welcome to the Minister of Local Government of the Palestinian National Authority, Dr. Al-Koni. Dr. Al-Koni and his delegation, who are in the country for bilateral discussions with our Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Ministry. Their visit will further cement our relations with Palestine. We also welcome students from the Glen Agricultural College in the Free State, and also the representatives from the Kalk Bay fishing community. Samukela zonke ezinye izivakashi ezikhona namhlanje lapha eParliament. Honorable Speaker, let me thank all honorable members who participated in the debate. Our message has been loud and clear. 20 years of freedom and democracy have changed the face of our country. The last 5 years have further advanced change and a better life for all, especially the poor and the working class. Our country is a much better place to live in now than it was before 1994. The freedom-loving people of our country, led by the ANC, put an end to apartheid, established a thriving constitutional democracy, and laid a firm foundation for progress towards inclusive growth and prosperity. Indeed, we have a good story to tell. The ANC government is the first to admit that more must still be done. Some communities are still waiting to experience the change that has swept across other areas. We have made progress under difficult conditions, especially in the past 5 years. Our government came into office during a crippling recession. As a result of the economic crisis, government has accumulated more debt to support the economy, increase infrastructure investment, and maintain social programs. Hence, national government debt is expected to reach 45% of GDP in 2015. This is still relatively low compared to some developed and other emerging market countries. The government's level of debt was 48% in 1994. This level was reduced to 46% in 1999 and reached the lowest level of 27% of GDP in 2008, before the impact of global financial economic crisis. The Minister of Finance will deal with such matters next week in the budget. Honorable members, the more we tell the good story of the success of our country, the more we realize how much more we still have to share with the country and the world. Let us take the dynamic growth in telecommunications as an example. The sector's revenue grew to 179 billion rand in 2011, having been worth 8.2 billion rand in 1993. There are 67 million registered SIM cards, and by 2012, 14 million people used the internet, with many doing so via cellular phones. By January 2013, there were more than 6 million registered Facebook users in South Africa, and over 5 million Twitter users, with over half tweeting from the mobile phone. That indicates a growing modern economy. Honorable Nkwinti also reminded us of the good story of rural development. Izindawo zasemakhaya ezazinganakiwe sezakhelwa imigwaqo. Abantu emakhaya sebekhanyisa ugesi, sebethola namanzi ahlanzekile. Izikole zikanokusho ziyakhiwa emakhaya, kanye nemtholampilo ngokunjalo. Ezolimo nazo ziyakhula, indlala siyayixosha impela. Ingakho nje sithi leNingizimu Afrika esihlala kuyo namhlanje ingcono kakhulu ukunale esasihlala kuyo ngesikhathi sobandlululo. Yebo, kusekhona okusadinga ukwenziwa. Zisekhona izindawo ezingakathuthuki. Basekhona nabantu abasalinde izidingo. Sithi kubo bonke laba basalindile ababekezele sizofika nakubo. Lo hulumeni awusoze uphumule ungakaqedi ukushintsha zonke izindawo ezihlala abantu ikakhulukazi abampofu. Ngisho kungasithatha iminyaka siyogcina sifinyelele kuzo zonke izindawo ngoba kulapho esiphokophelele khona. Honorable members, the ANC government has learned from the experience of the past 20 years. We know what policies work and what does not work. Honorable Mushwe is curious about what we are doing, what we are going to be doing in the next 5 years. What a good prediction. That we are going to be there all the time. All you ask, what is that we are going to do? The next 5 years will be about moving South Africa forward, building on the successes of the past 20 years and the past 5 years. We will focus yet again on the 5 priorities we had identified in 2009. These are education, health, the fight against crime, rural development and land reform, as well as creating decent jobs. We'll also continue to expand access to housing and basic services. More importantly, after the elections, the country will enter a new radical phase in which we shall implement socio-economic transformation policies and programs that will meaningfully address poverty, unemployment, and inequality. It is a phase of focusing on economic transformation in particular. We have achieved political freedom. Now we must achieve economic freedom and ensure that the ownership, management, and control of the economy is de-racialized further. We'll also ensure that we build an inclusive economy whose growth will result in more jobs for our people, building on the current successes in job creation. We have put before the country the National Development Plan, which will be an integral part of the draft medium-term strategic framework that will be discussed by the first cabinet, Lekgotla, after the appointment of the new government. Within the National Development Plan vision, 3 critical policy instruments will continue to drive government's policy agenda. These include the new growth path, which promotes inclusive job-creating growth, the National Infrastructure Plan, and the Industrial Policy Action Plan. Honorable Bula, we are indeed working to promote an inclusive economy and one that is not run by the minority, perpetually. Over 600 billion rand in BEE transactions have been recorded since 1995. However, fronting has also escalated, thus distorting the picture of our transformation. The broad-based Black Economic Empowerment Amendment Bill was signed into law on 27 January 2014, which seeks to prevent the distortions such as fronting, while also reorienting BBBEE towards the productive sectors of the economy, such as industrialization. Work is also underway in establishing the BBBEE Commission and to implement various aspects of the law to create meaningful opportunities for Black people, women, youth, and persons with disabilities. Honorable Mulder decried affirmative action. But in looking at statistics, it is clear that we need to do more. The number of Black people and women in senior management has increased from less than 10% in 1990s to over 40% today, which is a good achievement for the country. But it is not enough. Each year, the Employment Equity Report releases statistics that indicate that the economy is still controlled by white South Africans in terms of senior and top management positions. We must, therefore, intensify the implementation of affirmative action policies in order to deepen reconciliation and social cohesion in our country. I think it is important to look at the reality. This cry does not want to disappear about affirmative action. And I think it's a failure to understand the history of this country. There was a very deliberate, long-term program to exclude the Black people from the economy. The economy was structured racially. For many years, the laws were repeatedly made in the apartheid parliament to ensure that Black people did not do business wherever they want, that they ended up at a particular level in terms of what type of business they could do. Now, to believe that that can correct itself, I think is the biggest mistake. It can't. Very important that the manner in which we correct this, we bring the affirmative action. to take those who are left outside in the cold, in everything, to bring them into the economy so that they participate. Because if we did not do so, we will be denying the reality of a racial South Africa and the damage it made to this country. I don't know what informs this cry about affirmative action. I really don't know. Because even if you look at the development today, the gap continues. And we did not say, let the whites not participate in the economy. We didn't. We said, let them participate, but let us open the space for the black people also to participate so that they can grow. And we could not do that without bringing about the affirmative action. Absolutely important. And if need be, we could debate that issue. I think it would be very important. For those who don't realize, because people don't realize that the black people are not complaining about their exclusion for centuries. They are not in this country. They say, let us all work together. Let us grow the economy so that we could deal with that legacy of apartheid. And this cry is an unnecessary cry because it provokes a debate we don't want to enter into. I think it's a wrong cry. Honorable members, many speakers have referred to employment. Some speakers have highlighted the jobs growth of 653,000 net new jobs created in the past 12 months that contributed to the highest level of employment yet in our history. Others have pointed to the continuing large challenge of unemployment and the need to create new jobs. Both these views are correct. We lost many jobs during the global economic crisis, as many countries did. It was not South Africa only. It was not in any way a mismanagement of any kind. It was a global crisis that affected everybody. All countries lost jobs, even those that you think they are the best in managing, they are themselves. There's no country that could escape the global crisis economically. But what is important to note is that all those jobs have been recovered and the economy has created additional new jobs. However, let me also remind some sections of the opposition that the private sector accounts for over 70% of GDP and roughly about the same proportion of employment in the country. The private sector is, therefore, the primary job creator. The role of government is to create the right environment for business to operate optimally. We have been playing that role as we believe that the state must intervene actively in the economy in the interests of the poor and the working class. Minister Davis spoke about many incentives that we have put forward to encourage investments and job creation in various sectors. We also have a few other interventions to boost job creation. the Jobs Fund that we launched in 2011 with a startup capital of 9 billion rand has processed more than 3,000 applications. The Jobs Fund has approved 66 projects and has committed more than 3 billion rand. To date, more than 8,000 new permanent jobs have been created and 4,000 short-term jobs. More than 25,000 beneficiaries have received training. In addition, the development finance institutions have also been directed to invest in job-creating projects. The Industrial Development Corporation, IDC, has approved more than 50 billion rand in new industrial funding over the period of this administration. This has been in projects ranging from agro-processing, filmmaking, the auto sector, steel and engineering, clothing and textiles, mining and green economy and tourism. The Public Investment Corporation, PIC, has committed in excess of 38 billion rand in enhancing the productivity of the real economy through economic and social infrastructure, enterprise development, and renewable energy. Over 45,000 direct and indirect jobs have been created. In addition, last year, I announced the National Green Fund with an 800 million rand allocation to promote investment in the green and lower carbon economy. This fund is completely oversubscribed with application to the tune of some 10 billion rand. Investment of over 400 million rand has been approved in job-creating green economy projects in municipalities, other organs of state, community organizations, and the private sector. Honorable Speaker, the formal economy cannot absorb all work seekers, which is why our expanded public works program continues to be a success, having benefited 3.5 million people during the past 5 years. The Democratic Alliance pretends to have a problem with the program, but at the same time claims success in implementing it in the Western Cape, as Honorable Harris did yesterday. The fact is, this innovation has made a massive impact in the lives of the poor. And those who know nothing about the poor is theory. They just talk about it. To those who don't know what to eat the following day, this program is highly welcome. I had an opportunity after presenting a State of the Nation address to speak to the people of this country through community radios, connected 67 of them. very interesting, because their response to the State of the Nation address totally different to the leaders who claim to speak on their behalf. They are very happy. They ask very positive questions. They are not campaigning. They are dealing with real life. And we have solved some of their problems already. And they were appreciative that this country has changed. Of course, it has changed to them. To those who have been staying in good places, nothing has changed, maybe. I don't know. Programs such as working on waste, wetlands, water, fire, and the Environmental Youth Services Program have created about 750,000 work opportunities and more than 200,000 full-time equivalent jobs since 2009. More than half of these beneficiaries were youth. These are the young people that Honorable Mutau said are frustrated and desperate. Actually, government is doing a lot to deal with that frustration. We also have about 200,000 participants in the community work program currently, who will obtain skills to enable them to join the formal labor market. This is yet another good story the democratic administration is telling. Honorable members, as part of the continued engagement with the youth on matters of youth development and employment, a presidential youth indaba under the leadership of the Deputy President will be taking place. It will bring together young people in dialogue to assess where we are and what contribute and concrete steps we need to take to advance youth development. So the engagement with the youth continues in many ways, including creating jobs for them, making them to participate in looking for opportunities that will directly impact on them. As you can see, honorable members, we are a government at work to boost economic growth and promote job creation, working with business, labor, and other sectors such as the youth. Honorable members, another good story of our 20 years of freedom is the advancement of worker rights and aspirations. It is the story of promoting trade union workplace organizing, collective bargaining, equal pay for equal work, health and safety, affirmative action, skills development, minimum wages for workers in vulnerable sectors, the right to strike, and the right to peaceful protests. We agree that worker strikes should not be violent and reiterate our call to employers and labor to use the country's impressive labor relations framework to resolve shop floor issues. But we cannot reverse the gains workers have scored over the past 20 years. In fact, we continue to promote the rights of workers. We are working with social partners on the amendment of the Labor Relations Act in order to provide security for temporary workers in the employ of labor brokers, which Honorable Shabalala referred to in her contribution. These workers get paid less than other workers doing the same job. They have no access to social benefits and cannot join trade unions to exercise their freedom of association and the worker rights enshrined in our Constitution. So you have this type of workers who are deprived certain rights because of the manner in which they are employed. That cannot be allowed to continue. It has to be corrected. Every South African must enjoy the constitutional right. No situation must prevent somebody some rights that are in the Constitution. Honorable members, many speakers have spoken about the work we have done in extending basic services. We have done exceptionally well in extending these services. However, some honorable members pointed out some deficiencies in the chain of service delivery in some areas. Some members spoke about infrastructure problems in water provision and other challenges in local government which were raised by Honorable Porter. The Municipal Infrastructure Support Agency supports struggling municipalities with infrastructure planning and maintenance. This is done through the deployment of technical experts to help them with services such as water supply, electricity, or sanitation. Honorable members have also expressed concerns about the negative audit findings by the Auditor General against departments. Also of concern is the excessive use of consultants in provinces such as the Western Cape province, where the Auditor General has raised concern about the expenditure of 10 billion rand on consultants. While acknowledging the concerns of the Auditor General, we are also encouraged by the findings made by our former Auditor General, who noted the emergence of a pattern of positive outcomes in government spending and accounting. He also advised that we needed to move quickly to sustain these improvements. According to Mr. Nombembe, not all negative findings were related to corrupt activities, as some members of the population, of the opposition, want us to believe. Instead, he identified the high vacancy rate and staff acting in senior management positions including that of accounting officers, as part of the problem. Since the enactment of the Public Financial Management Act, there have been a host of measures to try and improve financial management in the public service led by the National Treasury. Departments with negative audit findings are required to prepare audit improvement plans that set out clear actions to be taken to fix the problems identified by the Auditor General. Financial management experts are made available to departments, agencies, and municipalities that need support in strengthening financial management systems and controls. Departments are also expected to employ the right personnel and to train those who need skilling in financial management. In addition, the National Treasury has published the Municipal Financial Misconduct Regulations for public comments that will come into effect from 1st July 2014. We will continue to invest in improving financial management capabilities of the public service nationwide. It is for this reason that in 2011, we invoked Section 100(1)(b) to take over the administration of certain departments in Limpopo province. I'm pleased to report to the House that Limpopo has turned into a good story. Limpopo had accumulated unauthorized expenditure of 2.7 billion rand, which dated back to 2001. A total of 2.2 billion rand has been cleared. Cash management controls have improved, and the province currently has a cash surplus of 4.2 billion rand. New leadership has been appointed within the Limpopo Province Treasury, and systems to manage the tender and procurement processes are being put in place. Wasteful practices have been eliminated, and the Department of Education is delivering textbooks at a low cost. More than 2,000 qualified educators who were previously working as temporary teachers have been fully appointed and permanently deployed to the schools where their services are required. Services progress is being registered in other departments, including health, roads, and transport. Many officials in the Limpopo province are being held accountable for their actions that led to the need to intervene. Prosecutions are underway by law enforcement structures. Forensic investigations have produced 38 cases, and 42 people have been arrested for corruption. The Limpopo turnaround is remarkably a good story. We congratulate the province. We had also taken over some departments in the Free State in 2011, and they have also registered a good story. Major financial management improvements in the provincial treasury and the Department of Police, Roads and Transport are clearly evident. Both departments are observing high levels of compliance to budgetary and other legislative prescripts, as well as achieving positive audit outcomes. The Free State Department of Police, Roads and Transport has, for the first time since 2007, received an unqualified audit opinion, while the provincial treasurer has achieved a clean audit outcome for 2 consecutive years. We congratulate the Free State as well for the successful turnaround. The success of the interventions demonstrate the seriousness of this government when it comes to improving governance and financial management. Honorable members, we made education an apex priority of our government. Personally, education is closest to my heart. I want to see every child, especially those from poor households, being able to follow their dreams and become engineers, doctors, and whatever they want to be in this country. Poverty must not be a barrier to education. Honorable Pando related the beautiful story of how we have met the Millennium Development Goals of universal access to education, and also that the number of girls attending primary, secondary, and tertiary education has improved significantly and is among the highest in the world. It is also important for us to ensure that children with disabilities are also accommodated in schools and provided with support. Our performance in education, as outlined in detail by Honorable Nzimande, indicates a country that has finally found the right formula on education. I trust that we will continue working together to improve education outcomes so that our children do not ever experience the type of education that Honorable Motsoaledi reminded us about yesterday. Honorable Moss spoke about the highly successful social security system, including pensions. Honorable Matiwane welcomed grants, but cautioned that social grants were unsustainable. Honorable Mfundisi also questioned how social grants can be waived as an achievement, and asked how we can build a nation on handouts. The grants are the most effective poverty alleviation mechanism in our process of addressing the legacy of apartheid. And this is a mistake that many people do, by the way, if they look at South Africa. To think that South Africa, over the time, was developing like all other countries. Forget that South Africa was a very funny country. Very funny country. With the majority being deprived of their rights for centuries. And also with self-government and independent government within South Africa and South Africa. Very funny arrangement. Some South Africans even deprived of their South African passports, given some passports. If you take the 20 years, if you compare South Africa with any country that never experienced racial discrimination, you are missing the point. And begin to comment on those bases that this country is failing to move. When the country has moved so fast within such a short space of time, something that no country in the continent ever did. As part of the mistake that people make when they make a comparison. And therefore, when we deal with the issue of social grants, it's not because we are saying this country is going to live on these. We are dealing with a problem that there is no other way you can deal with, to help those who have absolutely nothing, to have something to put on the table. In the meantime, whilst we are developing the country, the economy that must indeed change the quality of lives. If you talk about unemployment, for an example, a very big percentage of those people are unemployable. They've got no skills because they were deprived of education. We've got to deal with that. That's why we've even introduced the adult education, so that the citizens of this country are turned around to be something else. Now, when people make the criticisms, they don't take this into account. They almost talk as if democracy came to a country which was like any other country, normal. South Africa was totally abnormal. And therefore, if we comment on the 16 million of people that benefit, you must appreciate that we are tackling a very serious problem that touches the ordinary people of this country, the poor. And if you don't know poverty, you were one of those who were in advantage during apartheid, you will never understand this. It always surprises if you see those who know this situation pretending to be coming from some other planet. It's absolutely surprising. And you know, those people still suffer today. If you want to see that, come to Cape Town. There are 2 cities in one, in Cape Town. And there is no improvement.
Order.
No improvement made to other people, those who are disadvantaged. In fact, it is as if they've not started. If anything, they are called refugees in their own country. That is a continuation of that system that still remains in some people's minds. That in South Africa, if you move from one place to the other, we've got to be called a refugee because we have come to somebody's place. That's a problem. If you don't understand where the black majority comes from, then you are going to dream in Parliament the whole day, probably 2 days. It must also be noted that the minority of beneficiaries of social grants, 11 million specifically, are vulnerable children. The rest of the beneficiaries are older persons receiving the old age pension, pensions with disability, military veterans, and other vulnerable persons. Social grants, therefore, assist vulnerable members of our society. Honorable Van Wyk reminded us of the good story and progress being made in the fight against crime, including the expansion of the police station network around the country. This is in addition to an extensive expansion of the access to justice through building more courts. A total of 43 new courts have been built since 1994, and none of these courts were built in the 2009. And 9 of these. This is but one effective way of promoting access to justice. Honorable members, one of the good stories of our freedom is the transformation of the South African National Defence Force into a force for peace, which is highly regarded in the African continent and worldwide due to the role we play in peacekeeping. Tomorrow, we will celebrate Armed Forces Day in Bloemfontein. We'll pay tribute to the men and women who serve this country with pride and dedication. We will also pay tribute to the first Commander-in-Chief of the SANDF, President Nelson Mandela. This year, 2014, all nations the world over marks the centenary of the First World War in 1914. More than 6,000 people died in the war, including 616 black soldiers who died when the South African ship, the Mandy, sank in the English waters on the morning of the 21st February, 1917. In memory of the many South Africans who died in the war and every other conflict, our country will continue to work even harder for the realization of world peace and a better life globally and on our continent in particular. In this context, we shall selflessly work harder for the immediate establishment of the African capacity for immediate response to crisis and the long overdue critical reform of the United Nations to consolidate world peace. The First World War commemoration will also accord us the opportunity to honor our war veterans and military veterans. Compatriots, we have noted the appeal of Honorable Ambrosini about the discrimination, about the decriminalizing of marijuana for medical uses. I was touched to see the man I've known and work with for more than 20 years in this condition. I've asked the Minister of Health to look into this matter. Honorable Mfundisi raised the lack of progress in building the road between Koksta and Lichtenburg. The Presidential Infrastructure Coordinating Commission technical team has informed me that a contract was awarded by the Northwest Province at the beginning of last year to refurbish 50 kilometers of road between Costa and Lichtenburg. Work commenced on the road. However, one of the successful bidders took legal action against the provincial department responsible. By the time the matter went to court in November 2013, the department had already mutually terminated the contract, which had achieved 87% completion of the work. One stretch of road was left incomplete, and it is this that poses a hazard for road users. The provincial government is working on the procurement process to ensure that the road is maintained and is also completed in the first quarter of this year. Compatriots, the State of the Nation address gave us a short overview of the good South African story. The full story will be found in the 20-year review document that will be launched next month, where a complete good story will be told. There have also been reports from Goldman Sachs as well as Ernst & Young, which give an account of what this country has achieved and the work that still needs to be done. It is a proud story of the success of a people determined to change their country for the better. In other words, the good story is not told by the ANC government only. It's told by independent researchers. Only those who may be living in other countries will tell a different story, or perhaps influenced by certain things, including oppositional kind of positions, etc., to satisfy their wishes, because if you're in opposition, you must always try to disagree, even if you don't need to. We appreciate that. We appreciate. This is democracy. But the story of a good South Africa is told by those who look at it with no agenda. They tell a good story. And I can tell you, as predicted by my honorable friend, people know who make the good story. And on the 7th of May, they will tell the story. Who make things. No doubt. No doubt. Those who were the prophets, that they are taking people to some green pastures of wonderful organization, the prophets, the real prophets. will realize that their prophecy is not working. Can't work. The fact of the matter is that the population of this country, they have an organization they know belongs to them. It works for them. It liberated them. It's going to change South Africa for them. And they are not mistaken, therefore, about what they will do about voting. You can prophesy. You can go to the mountain. No problem. Abanye sabaxelela xa bephuma ukuyenza kuyabanda phaa ngaphandle. Akushushu, abanda. Kumanda ngaphakathi kushushu. Kushushu kumanda uyabona nje nawe. Bahle nabantu. Bahle. Honorable members, Honorable Koti stated correctly that in celebrating our freedom and achievements, we do so also honoring those who served, sacrificed, and suffered for the freedom we enjoy today. Certainly, on the 7th of May, we will take the good story forward when millions cast their votes in celebration of the right to vote that millions of our people gained for the first time in 1994. We congratulate the youth in particular for preparing themselves to perform this critical national task of choosing a government of their choice. By coming out in numbers during the registration, contrary to those who say the youth is not active. They came out in big numbers. In fact, more than any other time of registration. We'd like to thank them and congratulate them. Honorable Speaker, honorable members of the House, we must all, regardless of political beliefs, gender, race, or class, join this journey of moving South Africa forward towards prosperity for all. It is a wonderful journey that we must all get into. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, esteemed guests, compatriots, we have a good story to tell. I thank you.
I thank the Honorable the President. Honorable members, that concludes the debate on the State of the Nation address and the business of the day. The House is adjourned. Good afternoon.